is Miss Juliet, and I'm in the atrium. We're going to talk a little bit about globes and maps and places that Jesus lived his life. So you probably already know this, but a globe is something that is shaped like this, which is what? It's round. It's round like a ball. This one is mounted so that it can spin. Our Earth is round. This shows the whole Earth, all of the oceans, all of the continents, all the land. And if you look, there's a lot of blue, and that represents the oceans, sometimes rivers or lakes, but mostly on a globe, oceans. And then the colored parts are different land. And here is our country, right in here. We're part of North America, and the United States is our country. And then if I look closer, I can even find our state, Arkansas. And if I look really close, I can find a tiny dot with our city, Little Rock. So we live in Little Rock, in the state of Arkansas, in the United States, in the whole world. So we're about here. If we were to go all the way across the Atlantic Ocean, maybe in a plane, and then cross over some of Africa and get to way over here. So we started out here, and now we're way over here, and that is the place where Jesus lived. Today that place is called Israel. It's a country, but it's small. Our country is pretty big. This country is more like the size of one of our states, so it's not a very big country. Excuse me, but it is a country. It's a real place. You could go there today if we were allowed to travel right now. People do go and visit and see some of the places that Jesus lived and taught, and where he died and was resurrected. So that is a globe. And here's a map. A map is flat. So sometimes they're big, sometimes they're small. Like I could have a small map that I could fold up and put in my pocket. Today we even have maps on our phones. But a map is flat. It doesn't show, sometimes it can show the whole world, but this one shows just a part, and it shows just that area that I was showing you where Jesus lived. That's today called Israel. Back then it was kind of separated into different places, which we'll talk about 3 here. And you can see again that there is water, and here's some water, and this line of blue represents a river, and it goes down to this big piece of water, which is called the Dead Sea. It's called the Dead Sea because it's so salty, and it's below sea level. Nothing can live there. No plants or animals live in this sea because it's so salty. And you can also, well, maybe you can't see, but you can kind of see on this map, there's some little wrinkly things so that you can tell that some of this area has mountains, okay? All right, so that is a map. And you will have the option to click on and print, or I think your parent will get an email actually with this available to print, a map. And I'm gonna bring this in a little closer, okay? So it also shows the Mediterranean Sea. I'm pausing just a minute while I slide this in a little more so maybe you can see a little better. There. Still maybe not going to be great. And I've already labeled some of this. This is Galilee. That's one part of the country. This is Samaria, and this is Judea. And then I've got little dots that represent cities that were places that were important in Jesus's life. And the first one is kind of up here in the northern part, Nazareth. And that is where an angel came and announced to Mary, Jesus's mother, that she was going to have a baby. So we consider that an important place, and we have put a little dot there so you can find it. And if you want to, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw a little tiny bird to represent the Holy Spirit coming down to tell Mary. And then I go further down, closer to the south, and I look, and here is the city of Jerusalem. Actually, we'll jump down here to Bethlehem first, going more out of order on the map, but more in order sequence. This is Bethlehem, and you probably know that that is where Jesus was born. And we're going to put a star by that, if you want to show that that's where the star was that showed the wise men and the shepherds where to find Jesus, and also represents the light. Jerusalem is the bigger city, and that is the city where at the end of Jesus's life he went to teach and preach. And he there was killed, but also was resurrected. That means he came back. So I'm putting a cross there next to Jerusalem. So now I can kind of remember in my mind what those are. Just because I like art and I'm kind of getting into stuff like this, I'm going to draw some waves in the ocean. I don't have to fill it up. I'm just going to give the idea that this is an ocean. I might even draw a little dolphin, I don't know, dolphin something, jumping out of the water. Anyway, showing that that is the water, okay? So then, if you want to, you can color this in. This part that goes down, that's going to be blue, because that is a river. It's the Jordan River, and it's got a little lake or called the Sea of Galilee right there, and then the Dead Sea that we talked about. This, of course, is going to be water, and this is a colored sheet that kind of shows what it might look like when you're finished. Get that up there. So you don't have to use these exact same colors, but you probably want to use blue for water to remind yourself where the water was. It's always important to know for people where the water is. Okay, so that is one way that you can make a map of where Jesus lived. This is another way that you can make a map. I'm going to actually show you two ways that you can make a map. If you look at your hand and put your fingers together and your thumb out to the side like this, we can make a little map of Israel, or of the Holy Land where Jesus lived, in our hand. And how we would do that is this. Now you want to ask your mom first, and you want to have some washable markers. And I'm also going to show you another way to do this. So don't use a Sharpie. So I've got a blue washable marker. That means it comes off. I can wash my hands and most of it will come off pretty good. I'm going to start by finding the river. So see how my thumb is off to the side here. Here's a map. This part, if it were filled in between my thumb and my fingers, would be the Mediterranean Sea. This over here would be Egypt. and that's still called Egypt today. And then the palm of my hand would be the country that we're looking at. I'm going to start up kind of near the middle of my fingers. I'm going to draw a little river. And then about here, I'm going to make a little bit of a lake. It's called the Sea of Galilee. I'm not sure if it was salty or not. And then we're going to keep our river going down. It's going to widen out again and become the Dead Sea. Remember we talked about the Dead Sea? So I'll color that part in blue. Okay. And then I'm going to find my cities again. So I know kind of the top of my hand is the northern part of the country, and the bottom of my hand is the southern part of the country. And the first one we found on our paper map was Nazareth, the city of Nazareth. So I'm going to put that there. I'm not going to write, but I am just going to make a bird. You don't have to if you don't want to. Okay. And then I'm going to go south on my hand, and I'm going to find, it doesn't have to be real exact, it's just kind of to remind you. And here I'm going to make a dot for Jerusalem, and Bethlehem is not very far from Jerusalem, so I'm going to make two dots that are fairly close together. The one near the south or the bottom is Bethlehem, so I'm going to make a star to remind me that that's where Jesus was born. The one that's just a little bit above it is Jerusalem. It's where he taught and preached. It's also where he died and where he was resurrected. So I'm going to make the cross. The cross stands for the resurrection, how he came back to life. Okay, so I've got a little map of the Holy Land in the palm of my hand. And I can just look at it and I can think about the places that Jesus lived. If you don't want to draw on your hand, or maybe someone else in your family doesn't want you to draw on your hand, this is a different way you can do it. I have a big sheet of paper that's mostly so you can see. You don't need a huge sheet, you just need a regular size sheet of paper. And anything, you can use marker, crayon, pencil, whatever you have. And we're going to trace a hand. But instead of tracing a handprint like this with the fingers spread out like we usually do, like if you were going to make a turkey, we're going to trace it with the fingers together like this and the thumb out to the side like we did for this. So let's see. Using my left hand to trace. I'm going to make mine a little bit bigger than my hand so that you can maybe see it. So I'm going to circle around my thumb, come up, oh, got to put those fingers together, come down, and again, just because that's kind of how I am, I'm going to make this go off down to the side and make this come on down to the bottom of the paper so that I know that that is continuing land. Okay? So then I can do the same thing, okay? Kind of starting here, well, about here at the base of my fingers. I'm going to start my River Jordan and draw my Sea of Galilee. And the river continues and it becomes the Dead Sea. And then again, I'm going to locate my, and this above here would be another country. I'm going to locate my cities. And again, it does not have to be exact. Maps that we use to get places need to be exact, but maps that we're using to just think about things can be a little bit not perfect. So this is Nazareth, and that was the dove symbol for the Holy Spirit coming down to tell Mary. And then lower is my Jerusalem with the cross. And I'll hold this up closer so you can see. And then below that is Bethlehem, which I'm going to represent with a star. You can write the words if you know how, or you don't have to. And then this would be the Mediterranean Sea. And I'm writing it, but you don't have to. But I am going to, again, just kind of make some water, or you could color it in with blue if you wanted to. You could even get really creative and do some little mountains here, but don't have to, okay? This is kind of the basic. And then I just like to draw, so I added some things in. Okay, so let me bring this closer so you can see. I traced my hand, and I didn't really start up at the fingers because see how I started at the palm of my hand? Kind of starts at the palm and goes down. So this would be the northern part. This is the southern part. All right, so that's 2 ways that you can make your own hand into a map of the Holy Land.